Hey Met fans, Brian here with Mets Mayhem back again. The Mets took on the Miami Marlins at Citi Field Wednesday for the finale of their three-game series. Unfortunately, this is not going to be a very happy recap. The Mets were shut out 5-0. Tyler McGill took the mound for the Mets, looking to notch his third win of the season. That quickly changed, and what he was looking for were strikes. McGill threw 8 consecutive balls to start this game, walking Xavier Edwards and Kyle Stowers. So we had runners on first and second and no one out, and not a single strike was thrown yet. He finally threw his first strike of the game on pitch number 9, a first pitch get-me-over slider to Jonah Bride, who was taking all the way. After walking the first 2 batters that were lefties, facing the righty Jonah Bride, and after a quick mound visit with Jeremy Hefner, it seemed to help, and McGill struck Bride out on a 2-2 curveball to record the first out of the inning. He then struck out the lefty swinging Matt Mervis on a called third strike, inside corner fastball for the second out of the inning. Dane Myers then reached base on an infield single hit to Francisco Lindor, which loaded the bases, but McGill was able to strike out Griffin Conine to get out of the top of the first inning unscathed. Max Meyer took the mound for the Marlins, and he was fantastic for them. He got the Mets out 3 up, 3 down, the bottom of the first inning. He got Francisco Lindor to ground out to Javier Zanoja, who was playing second base in this game. Juan Soto then popped up to shortstop, and Pete Alonso grounded out to Graham Pauley at third. In the top of the second inning, Tyler McGill struck out Marlins catcher Nick Fortes and got Graham Pauley to pop out to Mark Vientos at third for a quick 2 outs. Javier Zanoja walked on a 3-2 pitch before Xavier Edwards singled on a line drive to Nimmo left field. McGill was able to strike out Kyle Stowers on a 3-2 pitch to strand 2 more runners. The bottom of the second inning, quite frankly, in the rest of the game, there wasn't much to talk about offensively for the Mets, but Nimmo grounded out to second leading off. Starling Marte popped up to Pauley at third base. Mark Vientos walked on 4 pitches before Beatty, who's starting to run out of time, struck out an 0-2 pitch in the dirt to end the second. McGill struck out Jonah Bride to start off the top of the third inning. Then he got Matt Mervis to pop out to Vientos over at third base for 2 quick outs once again. Dane Myers then picked up his second hit of the game, this time a line drive to Tyrone Taylor. McGill struck out Jonah Bride to start off the top of the third inning, then got Matt Mervis to pop out to Vientos over at third base for 2 quick outs, before Dane Myers picked up his second hit of the game, this time a line drive to Tyrone Taylor in center field. Griffin Conine then struck out for the second time, ending the frame. So the Mets went 3 up, 3 down again in the bottom of the third inning. Tyrone Taylor getting the start in center field, flew out to Stowers in right field. Hayden Sanger getting another start behind the plate, struck out, and then Mayer got Francisco Lindor to fly out to center field for the third out. Now Nick Fortes and Graham Pauley popped out to Francisco Lindor for the first 2 outs in the top of the 4th inning, before McGill gave up a base hit to Javier Zanoja. Xavier Edwards then lined out to Mark Vientos at third to end the inning. Juan Soto hit one back to the box that Max Meyer fielded. He threw over to Jonah Bride at first, recording the first out of the inning. Pete Alonso worked the count full before drawing a walk, but Brandon Nimmo flew out for the second out to Griffin Conine in left field, and Starling Marte was called out on strikes to end the bottom of the 4th. If you're looking for offense from the Mets, I'm telling you it's not coming, and it was frustrating all day long. Speaking of frustration, we move on to the top of the 5th inning. Kyle Stowers led off with a line drive single to left field, so the Marlins had a man on first and no one out. Jonah Bride then hit a ground ball to second. Beatty was going to his left towards first base. He fielded the ball, he spun around, threw the ball to Lindor to get the force at second. Unfortunately, he missed Lindor. The ball sailed over his head into left field, so that was scored an error on Beatty. Stowers was safe at second. Bride was safe at first on the fielder's choice. Matt Mervis then followed and singled up the middle, scoring Kyle Stowers and gave the Marlins a 1-0 lead. McGill was taken out at this point. He had thrown 90 pitches. He started off really rocky. He managed to right the ship and keep the Mets in this game, but he wasn't very economical with his pitch count all game. The first 2 innings in particular really hurt him. So now we have Max Kranick coming on to replace McGill. The Marlins have runners on first and second, still no one out. They're up 1-0. Dane Myers at the plate, and Kranick made quick work of him, striking him out on 3 pitches. He worked him away the entire at bat. Griffin Conine flew out to left field for the second out, It looked as if the Mets were going to get out of this one only down 1-0 before Nick Fortes hit a shallow fly ball that dropped right in front of Brandon Nimmo, which drove in Bride. Graham Pauley then struck out for the third out. If you're looking for any signs of life from the Mets in response to that, you aren't going to get it in the bottom of the fifth inning. Mayer got Vientos to ground out to Javier Zanoja at second. Brett Beatty struck out yet again, this time looking. And then Tyrone Taylor grounded out to Edwards at shortstop for the third out. Max Kranick stayed on to face the Marlins in the top of the sixth inning. He got them 3 up, 3 down. Javier Zanoja flew out to Taylor in center field. Xavier Edwards tried to drop down a bunt down third base, but it was fielded by Mark Vientos. He was thrown out on first. Kyle Stowers grounded out to Alonso, who tossed to Kranick to complete the third out. So at this point, the Mets are still hitless. Hayden Senger led off, and he grounded out to Xavier Edwards. That was the first out of the inning. Francisco Lindor then broke up the no-hitter on a hard grounder up the middle. So as inept as the Mets offense has looked during this game, they're down 2-0. They have Lindor at first with Soto and Alonso coming up. They still had some life in this game. They were still in it. They still had a chance. Juan Soto said, "Let me take care of that," and he hit into a 5-6-3 double play, which ended that idea in the inning. So now Ryan Stanek came on to replace Max Kranick, and he made quick work of the Marlins in the top of the seventh inning. He struck out Jonah Bride looking. He got Matt Mervis swinging, and then he got Dane Myers to line out to Taylor in center field for the third out. In the bottom of the seventh inning, Pete Alonso hit a hard ground ball through the left side to get things started. The Mets now had the leadoff runner on. They had nobody out, but Brandon Nimmo flew out to Griffin Conine in left field. The Marlins decided to pull Max Mayer at that point. This was the longest start of his career. And you're thinking, great, he's out of the game. Maybe we can get to the bullpen. I know I was thinking that. That was kind of the recipe for success for the Mets last year. Unfortunately, Anthony Bender came on. He got Starling Marte to ground out to first for the second out. And he got Mark Vientos to fly out to Dane Myers in center, which ended the seventh inning. The Mets then brought on Oscar Brazaban in relief of Stanek, and he struck out Griffin Conine to start the top of the eighth inning. Nick Fortes singled on a line drive to left field, but Graham Pauley flew out to left, and then Zanoja grounded out in front of the plate for the third out of the inning. So now we go to the bottom half of the eighth inning. Brett Beatty's leading off. He grounded out to Graham Pauley at third for the first out. Tyrone Taylor popped out to Javier Zanoja at second base, and Hayden Singer flew out to Kyle Stowers in right. In the bottom half, Brett Beatty led off of a ground out to Graham Pauley at third base for the first out. Tyrone Taylor popped out to Javier Zanoja at second base, and Hayden Singer flew out to Kyle Stowers in right field to end the inning. With an off day Thursday, the Mets decided to continue to empty their bullpen, and Edwin Diaz came on to get an inning of work, keep this game at 2-0, give the Mets a chance going into the bottom of the ninth inning. At least that was the plan, but you know sometimes things don't go as they were planned, and this one definitely didn't. Diaz went on a full count to Xavier Edwards leading off, then he lost him for a leadoff walk. Kyle Stowers came to the plate, and Edwards advanced to second on a wild pitch. Diaz did retire Stowers on a flyout to Nimmo in left field. Jonah Bride then grounded a single through the right side, scored Edwards, gave the Marlins a 3-0 lead. Matt Mervis then hit a fly ball to right field that just kept carrying and carrying for a 2-run homer. Now the Marlins have a 5-0 lead. Diaz got Dane Myers to ground out to Lindor to get the second out. Diaz then went to a full count on Griffin Conine. Then he lost him to a walk. His pitch count is getting up there. The Mets are down 5-0. No reason to keep Diaz in the game. Mendoza comes out. He gets pulled. Danny Young comes in. He gets the final out, retiring Nick Fortes on a fly out to center field. So now the Mets come to the bottom of the ninth inning. Lake Basher came on to pitch for the Marlins, and he got Francisco Lindor to line out to Kyle Stowers in right. That's the first out of the inning. Juan Soto then struck out for the second out before Pete Alonso hit a hard line drive to the outfield. Dane Myers caught leaping up and crashing face first into the center field fence, and that's how the game ended. That's how the game felt. The Mets offense in this game felt like we were crashing face first into the fence. So anyway, takeaways for this game. Tyler McGill falls to 2-1. He struggled to get ahead of batters and be more efficient. He threw 90 pitches. His official stat line is he went only 4 innings. He gave up 2 runs, none of them earned. He gave up 6 hits, he walked 3, and he struck out 7. Cranach came on in relief. He did allow an inherited runner to score. But overall, the Mets bullpen minus Diaz today went a combined 4 1/3 innings, gave up 0 runs, 2 hits, 0 walks, and 5 strikeouts. Diaz, however, went 2/3 of an inning. He gave up 3 runs on 2 hits and 2 walks. He just didn't have it. But if we were talking bright sides here, at least this happened when the Mets offense was held in check. Didn't cost us the game. He didn't blow a game that we were leading. So even if Diaz got the Marlins 3 up, 3 down in that spot, the Mets stood and pushed a run across the board, let alone 2 or 3 to win this game. So if it's going to happen, this is the game we wanted to happen in. Brett Baty continues to struggle. With news that Jeff McNeil will start to work his way back from injury, Baty may be running out of time. Hopefully the day off on Thursday and team playing on the road versus the Athletics may help. And I want to continue to see him get run out there as much as possible until McNeil is fully healthy and ready to return. Baty needs this opportunity to go through these struggles and for the Mets to see if he can work his way out of it. If he has any shot on being a major league player, he needs to be able to do this. And as far as struggling batters, the entire Mets lineup struggled today, with only Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso recording hits. Brandon Nimmo is now batting .200 on the season. Brett Baty is batting .111. Mark Vientos is batting .119. So as much has been said about Brett Baty not hitting, and I think it's because he was so hot in the spring, and because he has struggled in prior stints in the major leagues, Mark Vientos is struggling equally, batting .119. So it's important to understand and accept when you want a team to embrace the idea of playing younger players, they're going to struggle. They're going to be ups, they're going to be downs, they're going to be hot streaks, and they're going to be even colder streaks. Very few players burst on the scene and provide consistent results, consistent production from day one. So if you're all for the youth movement, you have to embrace the suck. And right now, what we're watching with Brett Baty and Mark Vientos, and you can throw in Luis and Acuna in there as well, is the suck. They're not providing much at all on the offensive end. But let's be a little bit more patient. We're only 12 games into the season. Can we at least see what the next 14 days plays out before our next scheduled off day? Friday, the Mets are 8-4. They're going to be playing the 5-8 Athletics. We're playing on the West Coast, so it'll be a 10:05 p.m. Eastern start time. Griffin Canning's going to take the mound for the Mets, making his 3rd start. He's going up against lefty J.P. Sears. More than likely, you won't see Baty in this game, so he's going to get another day off to just sit there and watch and hopefully, have a come-to-Jesus moment where he realizes what it is that he's doing wrong, or whatever is going on in his head gets out of his head that he can produce. So, in addition, I should have an injury update video coming out soon, going over the status of Jeff McNeil and Francisco Alvarez, and when we can possibly see them back with the Mets. So I'll be back after Friday's game to provide a recap of the game and any other noteworthy Mets news. But until then, Mets fans, let's go Mets.